Welcome back to the Us Girls Basketball Podcast, where we hear from real women, real ballers, and real stories. Today, we have the other twin, Becca. We just had Abby on, and now we're having Becca. This is super exciting because Emma actually said this. Even though they're twins, they both bring two very different perspectives to the podcast. So we're super pumped to have them on. So, hey, Becca, how you doing? Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's nice to meet you in person. I played against both of you guys at two different times in my life, so that was really cool. But I'm just excited to join the podcast with you guys today.
Yes, awesome.
Absolutely.
And for you guys who don't know, Becca did play at Taylor University, and she had a really good career there. It was awesome to play against her. And we already talked about how my team had a really bad game against them, and we're not going to keep going on to that. But I just wanted to let you guys know for reference, this was.
If you want to hear about that bad game, you got to listen to the other podcast.
Go to the other podcast because I'm not repeating it. Anyway.
I love that.
Becca, we have a tradition on this podcast, and we ask every guest, what is the biggest piece of advice you would give your younger basketball self?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me, like looking back now, would be to find your circle, whether that's like your teammates or people of other sports. When I got to college, two of my best friends, like one of them played soccer and one of them played volleyball, and just having people surrounding you that like have the same goals as you. And that it may not be like in sports, but just like are motivated and they want to achieve the same things as you can have such an impact on just like your daily life and how you can perform. And even like your bad days, they can relate to you. But like there's going to be times when like you start doubting yourself or doubting like the choices you made. And like just having people around you to like support you and not plant any seeds of like doubt or like you're not good enough or like you won't make it. It makes world of difference because I've seen both sides of it. And so I think like that would be my biggest thing is to try and find your circle and like don't let anyone outside of your circle like impact what you think and like your goals and stuff like that. So
that's huge. No, that's that's really big because I think too it's important. And I don't know if any of you guys went to like PGC camp, like Point Guard College or whatnot, but they talk about that, and especially too going to those camps. You feel what it feels like to be around like-minded people. And it is like one of the craziest atmospheres ever. But I think, Becca, going off of what you're saying, finding close people, especially that know how you're feeling and know what that's like, even though like your best friends were like soccer, and I think you said volleyball, right? Was that correct? Yeah. So with that, they're still athletes, but they also give you that kind of what's the word? I don't know what the word is that I'm trying to think of, but because they're not on your team. You know what I mean? Like you can relate, but they're also like escape for you to like vent or whatever you need without them even knowing what's going on. But I do think that's important. That's a really good piece of advice.
Yeah. And it definitely reminds me of how like I would be told I can't tell you how many times I've been on different teams and I was told like you don't have to be friends, with your teammates necessarily off the court. But once you get on the court, it's like it's all for one and one for all. You're there for a reason. But also being able to relate to other athletes, especially other female athletes in different sports. It's not even for the purpose if they understand your sport. It's more so just like what you're going through and how they can relate to that. And not even on top of that, having that small circle is so much better. We talk about quality over quantity. It's so much better than having 1,000 people following you and cheering you on when they're the first 1,000 people to turn around, and quote unquote stab you in the back. That's not really what we want to surround ourselves with. And when we do, and it's so many people, we want all this attention from everywhere. That's when you were saying those bad seeds are planted. That's when people are getting in your head. That's when they're saying things that you're starting to believe about yourself. You're really starting to think like, am I capable of this? But you need to remember that the sports world that we live in is the best way to find comfort and closure to any type of feelings that are relating to that experience, I feel like. And being able to express that through different athletic sports teams is really crucial to know that, if my teammates can't relate to this, I know someone else who's athletic right now, who's going through workouts, who has to wake up at 5 a.m., who has to do weights, can understand this. So it's all us female athletes, we are not alone. So if you think it's just by sport, it's not. We all got to help each other. That's for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. So, Becca, so on this podcast, we believe that how powerful your mindset can be, and not just in life, but in sports. We've all heard how so many percentage of the game is mental, and we all like didn't believe it at first, but then when it really came down to it, we're like, holy crap, I should have maybe taken this more seriously. But to you, what is mastering, or why is mastering your mindset so important?
Yeah, so in high school, actually, we had he was called like Mental Magic, and he was like just like a mental coach, like help our team, chemistry, and like just when things get bad or whatever. And we all kind of were like, that's cool, like whatever, didn't really care that much about it. But like I remember he had all these stats with like all these professional athletes he would work with, and like the differences in their team and like their successes and stuff. And once I got to college, it was like, okay, it's obviously a whole nother level. And having confidence in general, like, is one thing, because you can make like every shot in practice, and then you get in a game and you suck, and you're like, why? Because I'm like, I define practice, like what's going on, and like even just having confidence, and even like once I grew as like a junior, senior, and the younger kids, you want to have confidence in them, and you're like, oh my gosh, like you're fine, like you do so good in practice, but just like wanting to instill like the mental piece of that, and then going with it, like life happens during basketball season, like whether you want it to or not, and like it can impact you so quick, and like you don't realize it till it happens to you or one of your close teammates or close friends. So like being able to just kind of like control your mind. Like I had a coach, one thing that like my coach in college was, we went to a Christian college, so he was able to kind of talk about his faith and stuff. But he always talked about like what's going on in your head when you're going through like these shooting drills and stuff. Like, is it thoughts from like the devil that are telling you like you're not good enough, you're gonna miss your next one, and like thoughts spiraling, or are you replacing those thoughts with like confidence and things that are coming from God, like things to build you up, like anything like that. And that was like one of the biggest things that helped me in my career, was just like, okay, what am I letting control in my mind, like during the game, during like practice, when you're having a bad day and everyone seems to be like making you mad and like just everything's going wrong. Like you have to choose. The negative thoughts will come, but you can't let them stay there. So it's just kind of like trying to replace those with like positive things. And like once you see how big of a difference it can make in your game and like in your life, you just want everyone else to feel like the same piece. And like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, oh, I want everyone else to get there too. Cause like, I remember being on the other side of it.
For sure.
Absolutely. And I don't know if we've said this saying before on any of our podcasts, but like positive self-talk does so many wonders in all type of aspects, especially when you're going through the mud and you're having a rough time during your season. Workouts are hard for some reason, even though you know how to do them. It's harder to wake up and go to practice to get ready for games and all of that. But that positive self-talk can almost take you farther than any other type of like gratitude or praise from any outside factor. And it's crazy how it sometimes just takes implementing, someone asking a question like, what's going on in your head during this situation? Like, is it good or is it bad? Because that's going to be the first start where we step to then go in the next direction. Because if you're already telling yourself you can't do something when we all know you're fully capable of doing it, it's almost like you can't do it no matter what. And it's crazy that positive self-talk, those affirmations on a daily, it can excel your mindset. It can even keep your body healthy as well. That's one thing to really like preach about as well, is the worse you think, the quote unquote sicker your thoughts get in your mindset, it's going to start to take a toll on your body. And that's the last thing you need to do as an athlete who's battling school on top of workouts, weights, and playing the basketball game.
Yeah. And I know how, everyone's like, oh, just get out of your head, or the gym should be your sanctuary. So like leave everything at the door. Well, we're human. It's not always going to happen. You know what I mean? There's going to be things, whether that's we had a really bad day, or we had a breakup, or we had family stuff going on, or we had whatever. And sometimes those thoughts stick in our heads. We cannot let them go. So it's, or when people say, get out of your head, well, it's like, well, how? You know what I mean? Like you think about that. And so it's important that we instill tactics to help with this. You know what I mean? And so since we're on the topic, like one thing that I will encourage you with is I call it a flow statement. It's what one of my mentors helped me. And it's pretty much to be like, I guess, all psych and stuff. It attacks your unconscious mind so that when thoughts come up, it quickly like just triggers. So for instance, like for me, I worried a lot about past things, like things in the past. And so for me, it was that was then, this is now. That was then, this is now. So when I thought about bad things, I would have to repeat that in my head thousands of times, just like, and then all of a sudden it clicks. So then when I start thinking about something in the past, I hear that saying. It's the same thing with basketball or on the court stuff. If, we miss a shot and our first reaction is, oh, I suck. You know what I mean? Maybe your flow statement is like, I don't know, it could be something like, I have the next one, or just because I missed doesn't make me
shoot or
bad.
shoot.
Yeah, shoot or shoot, whatever that is. And that's the thing, is it's personal. So it's whatever it is to you, but it's not just about get out of your head or leave things at the door, because at the end of the day, we're human and we can't always do that. Becca, let's talk about too how obviously your mindset impacts your basketball, career, but how can you see the practice of a great mindset also bleed into, the rest of your outside life, or even bleed onto your teammates? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So kind of like I was talking about before, like you don't know when life's going to happen, or like when family things are going to happen, or like a bad test. It seems to happen like when you're in the busiest of basketball season, like everything's crashing down at once and you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. But like once I was able to, I think like just recognize it happening and kind of like you talked about, like find a tactic, that was like a big thing. Like, whether it's someone to talk to or like something you need to tell yourself in your head, or like, even like a popular like influencer or pastor that you like to listen to their stuff, if it's encouraging, like you just have to stop it where it's at, like don't let it spiral. And that's been able to help me, like even now. Like I was just having a conversation the other day at work with someone who, like, I just started there in June, so like I haven't been there that long, but they like broke down, like they were just super stressed about everything, and we have deadlines. And I felt like what I was able to learn from basketball, I was able to carry into that situation, which I was like, in basketball, like you don't think like you'd ever use like any of those skills or anything past like, oh, I graduated, I'm not going to play pro, like whatever, it's over. But there's so many things that like just being a good person and being able to be supportive and just like your own experiences that have helped you or like your teammates get through things will be able to help you in the future, like wherever you end up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's beautiful, because we're all not going to have the keys to the door of success, to the one we want to get to the one we're working towards. It's taking our experiences and meeting new people and taking what we've learned in the back end of our years that, whatever, that was nothing. And then here we are, fast forward in the work field, as we are adulting now. All of us are. It's crazy. I know, right? But as we are adulting now, it's like, I can see my work ethic in my job. I can see my time management in my job. I can see how I hold myself to a high standard and portray myself with my character in my job. It's knowing that the game of basketball was a sacrifice. It took so much time and effort and love for the game to get to where I am as a person, but also it helped shape me to help someone else in the future as well. It's crazy how even we always talk about, don't put your identity in basketball. Like you got to find a separate identity. So it's awesome to be going to the gym and saying like, this is my place, this is my home, but also know that you have a life outside of basketball, but you can still take those techniques and all those aspirations that you have with that sport and apply it elsewhere. And the crazy thing is like, we've all grown up in this atmosphere our whole lives. So we're like, positive mindset, do this, like work hard, speak highly of yourself, all this confidence. Some people don't have that. And, sometimes it takes us going through our journeys, doing a podcast like this, talking to a coworker who's having a rough day and breaking down, to be like, you know what, I might be the first light that you might have ever seen this positive. And it's something that I was put here to do. And that's where you carry yourself in basketball. That's where you take your legacy from basketball, is how I see it and how you apply it.
Yeah, we always think too, like, how does basketball translate to life? You know, like when we were players,
All the
sometimes we
time.
really think that. But the first, like I like knew it, you know, you see it, like you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. The first time it like hit me that I was like, holy cow, you can tell who the athletes are and who aren't, is like this one job I worked. And we had to do a lot of like literally teamwork, and people were, a lot of our issues were people were showing up late, and I was like always showing up early, because I mean, if you know, if you're on time, you're
Yep.
lit, you know what I mean, like all of this stuff. And like literally scared to not be there on time because of sports, and even the way just conducting myself when I worked, you know what I'm saying, it was just like crazy to me who were athletes and who weren't, and I could pick it out without even asking. It was so crazy, and I'm just in here like, wow, it really does translate like a lot more
It really does. It's crazy.
than I thought. But yeah, so to Becca, like if you feel comfortable enough, like I would love for you to open up maybe about a time that like a negative mindset really affected you, and then like the steps that you took to overcome it, so that those people who are listening who are like, well, I'm right there now, I'm super negative but I don't know what to do, like that you can kind of encourage them in their walk right now.
Yeah, so kind of going off what Emma was saying earlier, like my identity my whole life has been like being a basketball player, like being the twin basketball player in Angola and then going to Taylor, literally my whole life. So then stepping away, like I know this is kind of towards like younger kids, but even if their identity has been like the softball player, like whatever, like stepping away from that and not having that anymore was like, so I don't know. Like, I just felt like I didn't know where to find my value at, because it's like I'm not the basketball player anymore. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like when you've had that for so long and like that's what you place your identity in for so long, it's hard to like kind of like reevaluate. And I'm like, okay. But that's where it comes in. Like, I have been able to find new hobbies and like actually do stuff for fun, which has been nice, like past basketball practice and stuff.
Yeah.
But
That's awesome.
just finding your identity and like who you are, like as a daughter of God, and like how you can impact other people just through basketball, and like being thankful for those, because without like this speech that coach gave the one practice, like that really hit me and like changed my life forever, like going to the Dominican Republic and hearing like some of those stories, like I would never be in a position to help people where I am now. So just like taking it and being thankful for that, but not feeling like that's your value is from basketball. Because the other thing is too, like not everyone does things on like the team that show up on the stat sheet, and it's like stats shouldn't be like your value on the team, because one of our best players barely scored any, but she was our best defender, and like our defense would break down without her. And like when we didn't have her, it was a huge difference. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it's hard because like all these external things, especially social media, like it's talked about all the time now, but like it's only the highlights of everyone's life, and like the tweet that gets posted is only like the high score, like, you know, so it's hard even like if you're a player in that position, because I was there my freshman year, like I barely played, but I don't know, like you still want to feel valued and like part of the team. So I don't know. I think that definitely should be talked about more. By like coaches and stuff, like when you're playing, because just like where to place your value at, whether you're Christian or not, but like not in basketball, like that's not who you are. So
I think it's really cool that you said that, because it kind of relates to the whole aspect of, you know, like self-care and taking care of yourself and what you really want to do, and like what pushes you, what drives you, what makes you happy, and how you find, that's when you find these new hobbies. That's where you put yourself in these new different areas and aspects of your life to apply yourself, to apply what you once considered your identity into multiple different places in your life now. It's like how we talked, how we take that character, that confidence, that time management, that hard work ethic out of that game, and we apply it in so many different places in our life now. And it, before we know, we end up being that example to someone else, be like, wow, like she's efficient, she works hard, and this is what she gets out of it. I want to try that now. Or like, she's so positive, like even though I know she's had a bad week, but she's still coming into work happy every day. You know, I want to be like that. She seems to be really doing really good. It's taking collectively almost everything we've learned in the game of basketball and being okay with not going overseas, not becoming a free agent, not going to the WNBA or anything like that. It's being okay with that and taking everything I learned and say, hey, there's so much more coming. Let's spread it around. Let's spread some light and let's see where that can go.
Yeah, single-handedly too, Becca, like what you were talking about where your identity is. That's a huge thing. That right there was like why I started Us Girls Basketball. That was like one of the huge reasons, and the same with you. Like once I finally truly believed like my identity was in Christ and not anything else, that's when like things opened up for me. And I always say like one of my big one of my big sayings is your worth does not equal your stats, because it doesn't matter. Like I could have like a 30-point game, but like literally be feeling like crap the whole time. You know what I mean about myself and who I am as a person and this. So it doesn't matter. Or I could be the best player on the team, but just have the lowest points that game for some reason. And all of a sudden, like that wavers your how you feel about yourself. Like that's not it at all. And I agree with you, especially now that I'm a coach. One of the things I really feel strongly about is there's stats outside of the stat sheet. So like you said, like the defensive stats are like a lot of times it's hard because like say for instance, you're running like a full court press and you have people trapping. Well, we all know that the people trapping aren't meant to get the steal. It's the person behind you that's meant to get the steal. But the thing is, that still might have not happened if you didn't have those people trapping. So it's like trying to get your players and teammates to buy into the fact, like you said, like of those stats that aren't really stats and like actually make a difference when you're on and off the court. And that's hard because we want to, have, like you said, the highest, stat on our Twitter and in our highlight reel and all these things and want to be recognized for that. But sometimes the true grind and the true things that really matter aren't visibly recognized. And that's hard.
Absolutely.
That's extremely
it's
hard.
Being okay with knowing that instant gratification and not being single-handedly like congratulated isn't what we're striving for. That's not what the main goal is at the end of this. Sure, is it nice if it's deserving 100%? If you deserve your praise, go for it, take it. But when you can really find yourself and know that like what I'm doing isn't for the accolade at the end, it's for everything else along the way, that fills my bucket. That's what keeps me going. And that's like, if I can affect someone's day in a positive way, that's what matters to me. My favorite thing I'd always tell myself is like, I like making people laugh. And if I can make one person laugh a day, I've taken at least in that second, in those 5 seconds, I've made them forget about everything bad in their day. I've made them forget about what's going on at home or what's going on at work or what's going on in life. And they just laughed and realized, this is life. It's gonna happen. Let's be humble about it. Let's laugh at it. Let's learn from it and let's grow. And it's just crazy how you and your sister are just so maturely grown through your aspects from high school to college into in the work field today. I even told your sister, I was like, it's just crazy to see how you're still like the same you in terms of you being you from when we knew each other in like travel and like high school, but to see your growth as a person, as a player, as a woman of faith, affecting your team on and off the court, it's so visible, whether you're out there promoting it or not, whether the highlights are being shown, you see it through your circle that you're surrounded with, and it grows. It really does. Like wildfires spread for a reason. Not necessarily saying wildfires are good. That's not what I'm saying, but you get the term, what I'm trying to say. They grow for a reason. They affect people. It catches and it goes.
No, Becca, that was like great. Like everything we had to say was super important and exactly,
Absolutely.
our why as Us Girls Basketball. So like to hear it again and again from players like you, it just really emphasizes how important it is to where your identity is, where your confidence is, and like your mindset and mastering your mindset, like you put it. And I think that's really important. But before we end off, first of all, I'll give you the floor if you have anything else to say about this or any topics, but then go ahead and give us your social media handles so that people can find them. I can't talk today. It's fine.
No, that's okay. It's been awesome. And just like even reflecting on like my time in high school and college and everything, I just wish I would have listened to people like earlier and it would have clicked. So I'm hoping that some of the stuff we talked about today can just hit someone in a different way and help them in their careers. But yeah, my Instagram is just Becca Buchs. I think both of mine are just like my name, first and last.
Amazing.
So just like your sister. Perfect.
Yeah. Very basic.
I love it. I love that. That's awesome. And I love how you mentioned that you hope this hits someone out there. And I'm going to tell you it is, because everyone that we bring on, whether they realize it or not, it's someone with their own story, because our listeners, our followers, whoever's out there reposting this and sharing this, they see Jay and I every podcast. To see a new face and to see a new story and to see someone talk about their journey and what they wish they would have known is huge, because all these girls out there aren't like their teammates next to them, aren't like their friends in the same circle. They have their own story, and maybe those friends or their group isn't relating to it, but they happen to stumble along your podcast, one of the other ones in our seasons, and it hits with them. So we appreciate your time, and you're going to be heard. So it's great to hear from you.
Of course. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, again, thanks, Becca, for joining the podcast. And for the rest of you, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to rate and review this podcast, as well as subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching the video, and go follow Becca for just, I don't know, message her if you have any questions. Oh yeah. Good.
I got one more. I totally didn't ask your sister this, but one-on-one, who's winning, you or your sister?
Gosh.
Go.
See, this is a classic question. I think I'd be better offensively. So if I get the ball, maybe, but Abby knows all my moves and she's way better on defense. So I think the game will go on all night.
Alrighty. We'll have to get back with Abby and ask her that to get her answer. She's like, that's my answer. I'm done. All right.
Leaving it.
I love that. Perfect.
That's so funny. But yeah, again, like I said, make sure to rate, review this podcast, subscribe on the YouTube channel, follow us at Us Girls United on Instagram, and we will see you guys next week.